The Big Ten is on top of the college football playoff rankings with Ohio State and Indiana, and a big week coming up again on today's Locked On Big Ten Squad.
You're talking ball with the Big Ten Squad, sponsored by Gametime. From USC to Ohio State, from Michigan to Oregon, from Nebraska to Washington, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big Ten weekend. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big Ten Squad.
I watched 3 college basketball possessions while that intro ran. Welcome to this week's Locked On Big Ten Squad. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin, neutral arbiter of all things college football, of course. Ryan Herrings of Locked On Badgers is here. Mark Colkin of Locked On USC. Zach Anderson-Yaxheimer of Locked On UCLA. And Roman Tomashoff just happened to wind up in the bottom right of the Big Ten Squad. I know, it's just, this keeps happening. It's crazy. Ever since I started running the production side of the squad, you've always wound up down there, Roman. It's
coincidence?
It's wild.
I think not.
It's a pure coincidence. There's no evidence to the contrary. You can't prove anything. Just like none of you can prove that I did anything to Woody and Buzz back in the day. So, Ryan, I want to start with you. I know this had to feel a little bit like the Squidward meme, looking through the window at everyone else having a good time, because everyone here, except for Yaxheimer, of course, is ranked in the college football playoff. What did you think about Ohio State being 1, Indiana being 2, and Oregon also being in the top 10? And correctly, Iowa and Washington find their ways into the top 25.
Yeah, I think once again the Big Ten gets a little capped. I actually think Oregon, I would put them up ahead of BYU and Texas Tech. I think their schedule's been tougher. They're elite defensively. I think you look at a school like Iowa. Certainly, listen, it's Ohio State, Indiana, so I'm not going to throw too much shade at the Big Ten getting capped a little bit, but there's 2 lost teams from the SEC and other conferences ranked considerably higher than Iowa, who was a top 5 defense. If Iowa was in the SEC, they wouldn't be 20th. The Big Ten middle class always gets dinged a little bit. That's nothing new. If I was nitpicking, I would probably flip-flop Indiana, Ohio State, to be honest. I think the Indiana win against Oregon is the most impressive thing we've seen, certainly, in my opinion, all year, but I do think Oregon should be a little higher, quite frankly, and I do think Iowa, once again, doesn't get quite the respect it deserves.
Mark, USC comes in at number 19 in the college football playoff rankings. How did you feel about that?
I'm fine with that. I mean, I think people predicted they would be somewhere around 20. I guess they overachieved a little bit. Whenever somebody says it doesn't matter where you start in the preseason poll, tell them they're full of caca. Because when you start out of the polls or lower in the polls, you have to work twice as hard to work yourself up. And this is kind of the result. You look at, I don't know if it's strength of schedule or if the new phrase is strength of record, but the first poll is always kind of the first one out of the gate. All right, this is where everybody lines up, and you're going to see major drastic changes when the second poll gets released next week. But, USC 6-2, you look at their strength of record, they lost on the road to Illinois and they lost on the road to Notre Dame. Meanwhile, they're behind a bunch of teams that you look at and say, on a neutral field, who wins? I'm not sold on BYU. I'm not sold on Texas. I mean, Texas is up there because they've got, why? Who do they beat? Vanderbilt? Is that their
Oklahoma? The Oklahoma win is what bolsters Texas into that particular spot.
But I mean, the SEC teams who all start out preseason in the polls, they just keep yo-yoing back and forth, up and down, because all of a sudden, when you play each other, well, you're playing a really tough game. That same benefit of the doubt doesn't seem to translate across other conferences.
Yeah, I think there is some truth to that. I think it's better to be the Big Ten than the ACC, because holy smokes, did they get absolutely railed by the committee. And I do kind of understand it, because the ACC in the non-conference slate was flat out horrible. They were decidedly 4th of the Power 4 leagues. I think that was reflected in the rankings. Zach, you're not allowed to talk about basketball. I forbid you from doing it. I mean, you might not even want to after whatever happened in the first effort for the Bruins this year. But what stood out to you when you saw the first iteration of the 12-team playoff rankings?
I was kind of shocked Oregon was number 9. Obviously, I don't understand why Notre Dame gets so much love for 2 losses and a win at home versus USC. Sorry, Mark. But, like, why is Notre Dame number 10? Why is Texas number 11? I think the ACC is hated on a little too much. And why does Notre Dame get a cakewalk? Last year, they got a cakewalk for, what, 1 loss early? That was horrible to get into the playoff. This year, they're allowed 2 losses to get into the playoff. I don't understand why Arch Manning and the Longhorns and Notre Dame Fighting Irish are just easily in there at the bottom with 2 losses. I think we could throw in a 1-loss ACC team before we get a 2-loss Notre Dame team.
Well, and Notre Dame also mostly plays the ACC, and they're up there with 2 losses. But as Mark pointed out, preseason ranking and brand bias can absolutely play a factor here because, as we talked about earlier in this segment, Roman, when a Big Ten team beats a ranked Big Ten team, there's no automatic guarantee you go right into the rankings. In the SEC, that is seemingly always the case. Tennessee is still ranked out there, which I don't necessarily object to. I think it's just a little bit inconsistent at times. But Washington, I'm glad that they're in there. They should be. I'm glad Iowa is in there. But the best example of what we're talking about was Washington, that beat a ranked Illinois team by 17. And then the AP voters were like, yeah, okay. You're both unranked now. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, first of all, clearly they did something amazing during their bye week that actually just finally vaults them into the AP poll for the first time this season.
Undefeated on bye week.
Yeah, exactly. But on top of that, Spencer, I'm glad you mentioned Tennessee because I'm sitting here watching the rankings. I saw them pop up at 25th, and I took a huge sigh of relief because that's all I needed to know to see that Washington would find their way into the top 25 and that they were going to do something to get this right. I do agree that the ACC might have gotten shafted a little bit. I'm curious about Texas Tech. I don't necessarily know if they're underrated or if they were just dealing with injuries at quarterback and everything a little bit earlier on. That defensive line, I think they can compete with anybody. But I look at just where these, to kind of go back to what Mark was saying about the middle tier Big Ten teams getting shafted a little bit. I feel like this is all going to work itself out where Vanderbilt is one of the teams, for example, where I feel like they're going to drop another game or two. And all of these things where, we see 4 Big Ten teams in the bottom, 6, 7 spots in the rankings right now. These things are all going to work themselves out over the next couple of weeks. And for Washington, where the next 3 games are Wisconsin, Purdue, UCLA, if you just find a way to keep winning, I think everything will be fine. Ryan, we can talk about basketball if you want to. I'm happy to talk about Hannah Steinbach, best player in the country.
Can we?
No, not during. I love college basketball. I do, but it's still football season, Ryan. I'm sorry to see. You can play spoiler.
Could we?
I mean, you'll go on the field and have a chance to do it.
Do we?
There will be 2 teams on the field. That much is a fact.
Roman's making my point.
We've been averaging 74 passing yards a game, I think, in the month of October. We have 2.
Iowa's astonished that that's allowed.
We did score 7 on you. That felt like a monumental victory for us. But,
I don't know who this you is. I am neutral arbiter of all things college football.
Ryan, I'm not trying to pile on here, I swear. But as I was doing research ahead of our matchup this week, I saw that Wisconsin was averaging 5.4 points per game in conference play, and I legitimately thought that was false. I knew it was bad. I didn't think it was that bad.
I thought spooky season was over.
It's gone up recently because there were 7 points against Oregon.
Hey, in the Oregon camp, I can tell you there were some, myself included, that were at least a little disappointed that a touchdown was surrendered in that game. Now, admittedly, it was on this floating duck pun intended, this floating duck as the quarterback was getting drilled as he threw, and then somehow it was caught inside the 5. But it happened. The play got made. You gotta give him credit for that. But yeah, the 5.4. See, when you say 5.4, you think you're about to say yards per play and be like, oh well, that's not so bad. And then it's points per game, and you're just like, oh no.
It's good runs in baseball, not points.
Yeah,
per game
runs. Yeah, runs per game.
Hey.
5.4 would be very good.
Goals would be awesome.
Ryan, do they make red paper bags in Wisconsin?
People have found some.
I need a red out.
Like, it's been rough.
No, Wisconsin is next if they haven't already for the shirtless male student section.
That happened too. Like,
That did happen. That did happen.
I will quickly point out there was a recent report. The colleges that have sold the most beer on campus, Wisconsin is by far. You saw that?
Yeah.
Far and away, baby.
It was like $800,000. It was a crazy number.
It's not even close. So
Yeah, that's what Wisconsin is leading the charge. You know, they are the bad. They're that scene in the Benchwarmers when Clark is there picking his nose. And then Richie tells them, Clark, they're beating us in runs. But the good news is you're beating them in boogers picked. So we got that. We got that going for us. We're going to pick, speaking of which, watch this segue. We're going to pick every game in the Big Ten this week. Yeah, that's why I got top left responsibility up here. Plenty more on today's Locked On Big Ten Squad. First, this episode brought to you by SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts fast for a project, I mean really, really fast, SupplyHouse has next-day delivery. You talk about a game changer, SupplyHouse has got that feature. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, Ryan couldn't take it anymore. He did the too much football talk. He couldn't take it. Let's get to our picks, starting with the first Big Ten game that we will see. It's on a Friday this week. Mark, does that make it any more dangerous when USC battles Northwestern, Trojans favored by about 2 touchdowns?
No, it's just going to be a low-energy game. I mean, Northwestern is low energy. They might be the most boring team in college football, but, you know, they've got 5 wins, Ryan, so maybe is good.
I was also going to say Herring's is right there, Mark.
It was a subtle dig. I'm sorry, Ryan. I liked it.
All good.
Look, USC's coming back off a short week. They played that game in Nebraska, blackout, you know, great environment. I don't know if there's going to be a drop-off in that type of environment at the Coliseum on a Friday night in LA, 6 p.m. You know, last year USC hosted Rutgers. They beat them. They said there was 63,000 there. Meanwhile, the Dodgers were playing a World Series game down the street that night. I doubt there was really 63,000 in the stadium. World Series is over now, so we'll see. Maybe all those Dodger fans, now they don't have to flip a coin. They'll show up. USC, as long as they stop the run, which is basically what Northwestern does, and they do it really well, they're not going to have a chance to score more than field goals. So I do think USC wins this game. They cover the spread. It'll be boring, but it is what it is. I'll take 7-2 in boring any day of the week. Right, Ryan?
I'd take that.
Speaking of...
By the way, can you use that beer money to buy out the head coach? Is that part of the
So we do get NIL off of our varsity ale. So for any visiting fans that may be coming to Madison, if you want to help us out a little bit, a couple varsity ales will go a long way.
Varsity ale.
Washington fans, you heard what he said.
Yeah, drink, please.
I'm sure there are plenty of Husky fans that would love to take him up on that offer. Like, you know what? We will help a charitable cause. We were talking about not full stadiums, and Zach, for some reason, I felt like we needed to bring you into the conversation. USC and Northwestern, what do you think?
I mean, Mark, if Northwestern beats USC, you're going to dump a bucket of water on your head? You're willing to make that?
You're going to see a lot more than that.
I mean, Northwestern's better than I certainly gave them credit for. I still think UCLA, now having seen how they played, should have beat them weeks back. USC at home, short week, should take care of Northwestern, but I've already shortchanged them before. I'll still stick with the Trojans.
Roman, you see a shocker in Los Angeles on Friday?
Nope. I think that Yeah, I love that Mark just went out and called them the most boring team, especially with, Ryan right here. But I think that it is somewhat of a toss-up. I just have not been impressed by Washington Northwestern offensively. At least the defense is really solid, but I don't think that they have what it takes to hang with USC's offense.
Given Oregon's ranking in the top 10, I think it's pretty clear the committee loves Northwestern. Loves Northwestern, because arguably, we can have a separate conversation about the Penn State game. Northwestern might be Oregon's best win right now. If you looked at if you don't take the Penn State game as it was going into it, then it's probably Northwestern, which is kind of a wild thing to say. But Ryan, you may pick USC and Northwestern. If you are so inclined to pull the upset, this is your opportunity to state it.
Yeah, give me USC, but I think Northwestern covers. Northwestern has this incredible innate ability to go to places and just put them to sleep. They're like warlocks. They just go in and they just like all the energy. They're the mentors. They just suck it all out, and you're just like, ugh, this stinks. I think they can do that. Short week for USC. Nothing's going to be exciting about playing Northwestern. They're 118th in the country in passing offense, but they'll run the ball a lot. They'll kill clock. Like nobody cares in the stands if you're playing Northwestern. So I could see 23-14, like a 10-point USC win. So give me Northwestern to cover, but I think USC takes care of business.
I don't worry about warlocks after Halloween. That's all I'm saying.
That's probably the wrong.
Hold on. There are a million tigers and wildcats and bears, and nobody is the warlocks. Should that be Northwestern's new mascot?
No,
I don't know if it fits Northwestern, having been to that
doesn't.
campus.
What does fit What about a wildcat fits Northwestern? They're
Well,
in
Wildcat
Evanston.
is like the most like boring, overused logo across college sports, so I think it fits perfectly.
You put glasses.
Okay,
on
but think about this. Think about this. Northwestern, arguably the premier academic school in the Big Ten. I said arguably. We don't need to have that discussion.
I was gonna go fight. I'm gonna fight you, Spencer.
I was too. Academic prowess and everything. Hey, man.
That's true. That is Washington's forte. Northwestern, I think, is Northwestern's like the Stanford of the Big Ten.
I was just gonna say, the Stanford Light. That's who they. That's exactly.
Yeah, they're Stanford like. If anyone was going to figure out how to get magic into our lives, wouldn't it stem from Northwestern?
I think that's a fair point.
That's what I'm saying. The Northwestern Warlocks is kind of electric. You have the double W's in the name, in the full team name there.
I think they should just lean all in, the Northwestern nerds, and just like go for it.
Hey, man, if Stanford hasn't changed their mascot, I don't think we're going to get that.
The cardinal tree is iconic, even though it doesn't make all that much sense. But anyway, Ohio State plays Purdue. Yeah, okay. Well, speaking of games that are technically speaking of games, Ryan, where two teams are technically taking the field, Ohio State plays Purdue this week. But Roman, I want to go to your game against Ryan here because the spread's only 11.5. Ryan, it's only 11.5. Roman, you can start things off. Any measure of upset alert against a nothing to lose except another football game Wisconsin team?
The weather's not going to be great in this game. So this is one of those games where I just look at it and say, Washington still has to travel 4+ hours for this. There's still some level of question of which team is going to show up with Jedfish on the road. Is it going to be the second half against Maryland, the team that showed up for the entire game against Washington State, or the team that showed up for the Michigan game? And I think that Washington has the high-end talent to be able to run away with this game. But again, with the weather, with what Camp Randall can bring, especially, in a nothing to lose game like this, I'm always going to be a little bit nervous. But I always kind of thought coming into the season that Washington was going to split Michigan, Wisconsin, and this is the game I had them winning.
Ryan?
Yeah, I don't think Camp Randall's going to bring too much. There's a lot of.
You were talking about the shirtless section. I thought we were going to get a little bit of that.
Camp Randall's a great place. Like a lot of places are in the Big Ten when the team is winning. So I will say this: Wisconsin showed fight against Oregon. This team hasn't given up. I will say that they found some new pieces at linebacker, Mason Posa, a couple guys on the defense.
Defense is solid.
Defense can play. The defense can really play. And they haven't given up. You will likely see a new quarterback. For whatever it's worth.
Who?
So
who's left that hasn't been tried?
They're probably going to go back to Daniel Neal, who got a few reps earlier this year, and then they're going to play, I think, the 4-star freshman Carter Smith is going to get in there. So that gives you a spark. Both those quarterbacks can run. If it's a bad weather game, it's the same thing, Spencer, it's the same thing you and I talked about 2 weeks. Weather, maybe bad game, if you can run the ball a little bit. I actually think Wisconsin keeps this one close. I really do. I think they played really hard against Oregon. They showed some signs. They were able to run the ball a little bit for the first time this year. But ultimately, Washington offensively is just too talented. There's too many guys on Washington's team that are just a tier above whatever Wisconsin's going to have. So I think Washington comes in and wins. I do think Wisconsin keeps it close. I think they play hard.
Anybody want to take Wisconsin in the upset here?
I'm going to say
the points or just the upset?
The tailback you wannabes cover.
Wow. Yeah, I'm probably
Cover. I thought Mark was going for it there. Before we break for segment 3, Zach, the Bruins have Nebraska this week in what I'm dubbing the what could have been bowl. You know, UCLA for a minute was controlling their own path to the Big Ten championship game. Nebraska, until Dylan Raiola got hurt, was controlling their own path to the college football playoff. What do you think the Bruins bring to the table this week?
I think the Bruins, favored at home, should win this game against Nebraska. It's going to be the last game that they're favored this season, I believe, with Ohio State, Washington, and SC all on the schedule, 2 of those 3 on the road. It's a must-win, quite frankly. If Tim Skipper wants this job, I wasn't too scared of Raiola last year coming into this year from a UCLA perspective because the Bruins have already beaten them. A lot of new pieces, of course, but without Raiola, I think this has to be a UCLA win or looking at somebody other than Tim Skipper as the new UCLA head coach.
By the way, perhaps most importantly on the line for the Bruins this week, Zach, they have to win this game to keep their hopes alive of forcing me to buy a Nico jersey and wear it for a week here, or not here, but over on Locked On College Football. That has to happen. If they lose this game, it will not be alive. When we get back, boy, a couple of fun games in the Big Ten, including Oregon. I will have our picks for that and more on today's Locked On Big Ten Squad, which is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And all the lines we're talking about here on the show, provided, of course, by our friends at FanDuel. If you want to bet any of those games because you think you know how it's going down, if you think UCLA is rolling Nebraska with a backup quarterback, Bruins -2.5 is probably your cup of tea. If you think USC is thrashing Northwestern, you can take a -14.5. If you think Northwestern hangs around, +14.5. Anything you think's happening, you can put your money where your mouth is with FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's pick. Do we want to do Oregon, Iowa first or last in this segment?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
I say we go last just to make Spencer wait.
Last, just to make it sweat. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Indiana, Penn State. Remember when this game was going to be fun? Penn State showed fight for a half at Ohio State last week, and then the Buckeyes realized, wait a minute, we're a much better football team. Ryan, can Indiana get any sort of scare in Happy Valley in what I don't imagine will feature too much Mo Bamba?
I don't think so, man. Indiana is so good. And I think people still are coming to terms with the idea that Indiana is an absolute powerhouse this year. If Indiana's resume was put on any SEC school, they would be on the cover of every magazine, on everything. Like, this wouldn't even be a topic. They'd be number one in the playoff rankings. I think Indiana's going to crush them because Cignetti has a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to always have a chip on his shoulder. Give me Indiana by whatever.
National title contending Hoosiers is how they should be viewed. Mark, any chance that we've got a stunner?
There's a chance. There's a chance. Exactly. Well,
yeah.
Your finger and thumb. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Zach or Roman, either one of you guys think that this even gets interesting?
I'm shocked that the line is 15.5 Indiana or whatever. It might be 16.5, whatever you're
on the road.
I still think they're going to win this game by 30 points. I'd be shocked if they do anything less.
crazy.
Now for a really fun one before we get to Oregon, Iowa. Somebody's getting their second Big Ten week win this week. It is either going to be Maryland or it is going to be Rutgers. Ryan, this is the smallest point spread in the Big Ten this week. Make your pick. Terrapins or the Scarlet Knights?
Give me the birthplace of college football. They're at home. This is not going to be pretty football, but hey, I've seen that all year for me, so whatever. Let's go Rutgers at home, squeaks it out.
Ryan just educated so many people and caused so many Google searches about the birthplace of college football. Mark, the Turtles or the guys with the swords?
The Scarlet Knights, was that the name you were looking for?
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of a witty retort to describe their mascot, and I didn't come up with a good one.
There isn't one. I agree with what Ryan said. It's in Piscataway, so let's just go with the home team.
Zach?
I'm going to go with Maryland. Mike Locksley gets a November win for Maryland. Those are sometimes hard to come by, and I think Maryland gets a road Big Ten dub. That defense going to step up, get a pick 6 or 2.
I'm with Yaxheimer on this one. I think the Terrapins, I like Malik Washington to be the difference. Roman, what do you think? You've seen both teams this year.
I was going to say, I think I'm the only guy in this chat that's had to watch both teams this year. Am I?
Had to, gotten to.
Enjoyed.
You know what?
Enjoyed.
Gotten to. No, definitely not enjoyed, especially the Maryland game. I was horrified. But the difference maker, Spencer, I don't think it's going to be Malik Washington. I think it's going to be Maryland's freshman edge rushers, Zahir Mathis and Sidney Stewart. This Rutgers offensive line is not good. And I think Anthony Kalik-Man has been awesome. He's got a great trio of receivers. I don't really like either defense in this game in the secondary very much, but I think these pass rushers are going to make a huge impact on this game. Give me Maryland.
And now the moment everyone has been waiting for. The crowd goes crazy behind me on game day. Oregon goes to Iowa in a ranked matchup that wasn't that way when the week began, but thanks to the committee's playoff rankings, is indeed a top 20 showdown in Iowa City. Iowa's passing offense has not put together a 200-yard effort from Mark Gronowski this season. However, that's never really been Iowa's staple. They go against a great Oregon pass defense. Ryan, what do you think about this game?
Two great defenses. You hit on it. Oregon's defense is going to be really tough for Iowa, but maybe they're able to run the ball a little bit. It's in Kinnick. Kinnick is an incredibly hard place to play. It would be helpful if that was a night game, right? That the early afternoon or the mid-afternoon kick doesn't help Iowa there. Give me Oregon, low-scoring game. Iowa's going to play tough. They always do at home, but I think Oregon just has too much offensively, and I don't know how Iowa moves the ball. So Oregon, tight game, take the under.
Mark?
I want these two teams to hit each other so hard over and over and over again so they are not ready to come. USC hosts Iowa the week after this game, and then they got to go up to Eugene. So I want you guys bruised, bloodied, battered. I want this to be an old-school Big Ten conference football game. That's what I'm looking for.
Did you have a pick on who you think is going to win the game?
Less who wins. As long as USC beats both of these teams, that helps their resume. That's all I care about.
Okay. Mark doesn't want
to satisfy you because I know you want to hear Oregon's name. I'm going to go with that.
I'm good either way. I'm good either. I was about to say Mark is calling the game, so he's not making a pick.
Iowa will win. It's going to be a walk-off field goal to win.
Zach?
Iowa to cover. Oregon wins.
Oh, that was a nice little switcheroo. Roman, go right ahead.
Yeah, Iowa. Give me Iowa. I think that both these defenses are really solid. I think that Iowa can find a way to move the ball a little bit here and a little bit there. We've been shocked by them once or twice already this season. I hear they even scored 30 points in a game. I think
they've done it a couple times.
They did it against me.
Yeah,
I was going to say that's why I wanted to throw that out there. But I do like the under, like Ryan said. Yeah, give me Iowa. There's no way I can pick the other team.
Roman, you do realize that it is in Washington's best interests for Oregon to win the game, right?
That's not what I said.
Okay, gotcha. Just making sure that you're aware of what
Washington's best interest is. Always watching Oregon lose. That's it.
All right, rent free. We can live with that. Yeah.
Let's not act like that doesn't.
The only question I've got in this game is whether Oregon wins by 30 or 35. I think. No, I'm kidding. I think this is going to be a really really good test for Oregon's offense. I actually do, because Iowa's defense at home, off a bye, crowd should be popping. They're ranked inside the top 20. A lot to play for, control their own path to make the playoff. But the Oregon's offense has had some high highs and some lowish lows this year. I don't think Iowa's offense can do enough against the Oregon defense. I'll take the Ducks to win 24-13 over the Hawkeyes. Where are Goins and Trent Condon to fight when you need them? But alas, that is how the cookie crumbles. Ryan Herring's locked on Badgers. Mark Koken locked on USC. Zach Anderson, Yoxheimer locked on UCLA. Roman Tomashoff locked on Huskies. I'm Spencer McLaughlin, neutral arbiter of all things college football, of course. That is it for this week's Locked On Big Ten Squad. We'll see you next time, and until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.